Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So we have the Colt Single Action Army, the Peacemaker. So, pretty cool gun. Well, I got this thing in from Airgun Source, and I gotta tell you, I like it. This is the gun that's a reminder of me of my Daisy Model 179 that I first bought myself when I was a kid. Underaged at that, but they didn't notice because I looked older. Anyways, whole fiasco. But nonetheless, this is a replica air gun, of course, of the Colt Peacemaker. And it is definitely, in many ways, identical to that Daisy. The difference, of course, with the Daisy is this loading ejector. Actually, this was down here, and you pushed it forward, locked it back, threw a pile of BBs in, away you went. And it was a spring-powered gun. And every once in a while you had to replace the cocking bar or the spring. Something would go wrong. It might jam up, who knows. But a pretty cool gun. I've had a number of them over the years too. I've been lucky enough to come across a few of them, but I don't have it anymore, which is fine. But I always wanted something better. But that reminded me of that gun, because that was the very first one. Now, of course, mine was black. This one's nickel. And I actually like the nickel finish on these guns. They're really super nice. And when it comes to using the sights, it's a lot nicer on nickel than it is on all black gun, that's for sure. Because most of our black guns, or guns that have black sights, you got to paint a little bit of white on the tip, and this one you don't really need to, it's fine. So this has got what's called a blade rear sight, and it is fixed, of course, and then you've got your fixed front sight. You do cock this back halfway, and then the cylinder will rotate. You flick the ejection port open, or loading port, does both, and you just have to line it up so that you can drop your shells out one at a time, or if you want to get fancy, you can actually use the ejector port. And it works actually perfect too. So, I mean, you got to be careful with it because, you know, it will shoot it across. So you got to line it up right, and away you go. Anyhow, the gun's made out of all metal. The only plastic on this gun is actually the hand grips. It would be lovely to have a set of grips in wood, but you know, these are pretty heavy duty for plastic. You know, I'm pretty sure these are going to last a long time. The only part you really got to be careful of is this little tab here. If you break it, well, then you're going to have a problem. So you'll have to order a new set of grips at that point. But that's how you get access to the CO2. Now, you also have your CO2 screw here, and the tool is built right into the back of the handle, which is really awesome. I wish they would have done that with the Remington 1875, because with it, yeah, the tool is in there, but you got to take it out and do this, and it's just, this is so much easier. You just put it on the back, and away you go, you know, rotate. You don't have to actually tighten this up very much either to ignite a bottle. Even Crossman bottles, which is what I've been using in this, doesn't take much to snug it up and ignite it, and you're good, and it's not going to leak. So that's your half cock position that allows you to rotate the cylinder, load it, offload it, and of course all the way back to fire. So you've got, you know, 1 stage, 2 stage, 3 stage, right? The trigger on this is very hairy. It does not take hardly any effort at all to move the trigger on this. I mean, it is just very light, which I kind of like in a sense, but in another sense, you got to be very careful. You almost have to handle this thing with your finger off, have it cocked, and then when you're ready to fire, then move your finger into position, because any little bit of extra weight and it goes off on you, and it's like, that can really screw up your accuracy, okay? And it can get you a little excited too, you know, like, But anyways, I really love the gun. You know, I mean, if you put this side by side against the real one, other than, of course, the grips, you wouldn't be able to probably tell them apart, other than the safety, of course. But I have done a crony test with this thing. If you guys have not seen that video, go check it out. Today, I actually decided it was review day because I've had a bit of time with this thing. I do find this thing does work really well with Prometheus wad cutter hyper pellets, although they're expensive. Go figure, another gun that runs expensive ammo. However, I'm going to search around for cheaper ammo. Yeah, I'm not running Prometheus pellets in this all the time. although they do run out quite fast, which is nice for speed. You know, I want accuracy, but I also want, you know, 500 rounds for a decent price as opposed to getting 200 rounds for, yeah, really expensive. You know, and even though I'm not going to shoot the gun a lot very often, you know what I mean? When I do shoot it, I want to run lead pellets in it. It's just the way I like them, and I want to try and find a lead pellet that the gun also really likes a lot. I just ran 120 rounds of Gamo pellets through. Actually, I have the tin here. I don't normally like anything Gamo, but I thought I'd try some Gamo pellets out just for giggles, because you never know, I might get a gun that these will work with. And these are, my eyes are bad, sorry, 7.56 grain, and you get a tin of 500 of these suckers. Now keep in mind I live in Canada, and that was $11.99 at Lefebvre's Outdoor Sports, which I thought, you know, for 500 rounds, Gamo match pellets, maybe it's a good deal. So far I haven't found a gun that'll shoot them straight though. I've tried a couple of guns, but we have a couple more guns to try them on to see how they work. With this gun, you are going to get a lot of flyers with those pellets, so they're not the most stable. I think I got maybe, well, in all the shots I fired, I'd probably say 6 or 7 bullseyes out of 120 rounds. The rest of them were, you know, other places on the black, or way out here, way here, way here, way here. It's just like a random thing, you know. And so yeah, they're definitely not going to work with this gun. That's a given. But nonetheless, the gun is not very expensive either. I'll actually go up to the site, because I have 2 computers going at the same time here. One recording my video, and the other one I can get to stuff rather easy. So this was $154.50 at airgunsource.ca. I also bought extra shells as well. I bought 12 extra shells for it. Same sort of thing I did with my 1875 Remington, because 6 shells is not enough. Then you got to dump and reload, and then reload again. It's like, I want a bunch of shells, you know. I want to get, you know, and also that realism of the cowboy thing, right? And so anyway, extra shells are definitely a bonus. Anyway, and these are also, the shells are also, they're like a nickel finish as well, or steel finish, and they're all metal too. The rubber inserts at the back, so you load the pellets from the back. Now this is the pellet only shooter version, so this does have a rifle barrel, so no shooting BBs through this thing unless you want to really screw up your gun, okay, and fast. But so it's not dual ammo in that sense, although if you wanted to, I suppose you could, you know, load some BBs in and take your chances, but I'll guarantee you are going to mess up that rifling. So it's a pellet version. Use pellets. The weight of this thing, nice. The hand grip, smaller hands can hold this gun really well too, you know, which is nice. And it doesn't have a lot of like top weight to it or front weight. It's actually quite well balanced, you know, which is nice as well. So I do like the fact that the safety is hidden and it's not something that's visible and ugly. It is definitely hidden, and the safety is also metal. Like I said, the only plastic I found on this thing, other than the rubber inserts for holding your pellet in place, are the grips. So the rest of it's all metal on this thing, so that's really cool. You know, for an all metal gun, and for the price of it and what it is and what it represents and everything else, the prices of these things are actually really good. You know, I mean, this is my 3rd replica. I've got the Dan Wesson 4 as well. It's also an all metal replica gun. Mind you, it's, if I was to give you a comparison, because you can't really compare apples to oranges, but if I did, the quality, workmanship, and everything else in this and my Remington far surpassed the Dan Wesson, okay, by far, okay. And that's just the way it happens to be, in my opinion. Somebody else might have a different opinion. You do have a, you know, realistic looking firing pin here. It actually doesn't do anything, but you know, it's part of that realism of being a replica, right? They add in the stuff. You can open the ejection port / loader port no matter what position the hammer's in. If you do put the safety on, you push back to put it on. You cannot pull the trigger. You cannot cock the gun. It will not allow you. Okay. You also cannot rotate the cylinder by hand unless you are half cocked. then you can rotate the cylinder, okay? And at full cock, of course, you're not going to rotate it because it's cocked and ready to go. So, any hooch. I would say, like, I mean, overall, I'd have no problem putting this thing at a 4.5 out of 5, and I'll tell you why too. Well, nothing's perfect either, right? But the shot count is amazing on this thing. It took 120 shots before I actually dropped below 300. And I was still running like 330s and stuff, around 110 FPS. By the time I got to my 120th shot, I think it was like shot 118 or 119 and I dropped below. My last shot at 120 was 280 FPS. Now, don't count that as still having a lot of gas left. That's when I also quit shooting. And then I actually ejected the gas bottle, and all I heard was a poof, literally about that long of a poof. So there might have been 2 shots in there. There might have been 1 shot left. That would have been it. But for having 120 shots, and you know, even being up into that 280 FPS at that 120th shot, that's actually pretty respectable, you know. And I'm not taking a lot of time either. Like, you know, I was, you know, shoot, dump, reload, shoot. Okay, so I'm not giving the gas even a chance to really warm back up. That was really, really good. So I'm very impressed with the gas usage on this and the FPS right up to that 120th shot. That's really respectable. I still have to do a test like that on my Remington yet. But otherwise, I would definitely say it's a really cool gun. The only thing I would say as a word of warning with this thing is the CO2 seal in here. Now, with any CO2 gun, you got to put a drop or 2 of oil on the seal for where the bottle goes. You know, every couple of bottles would be the best way to keep the valve lubricated, but also to keep that seal soft and pliable. You don't want it to get hard. You don't want it to shrink on you either over time. Now, the other thing too is because of the type of seal this is one of those more softer, smooshier seals. Whatever bottle you start with as far as brand-wise go, stick with that. So make sure that the bottles you're going to use are common and easy to get your hands on. I'm actually running Crosman in this thing. The other reason for that too is the CO2 bottle, if it's left in there too long, it can also make an impression on the seal. And some of these seals, that impression is actually made on the first bottle. So if you do switch off to another brand, the necks aren't all the same on different brands of CO2 other than Crosman, right? So you have some that are wider, some that may be even slightly narrower, you know, and some that are even wider than the wider ones, you know, but they still fit and work. So you've got to be cautious about that sort of thing with the majority of the CO2 guns, especially nowadays. Okay, it's a lot more common to have this kind of seal. And so, in other words, I also would not suggest long-term storage of CO2 in this gun for that very reason alone. Now, I have not seen the inside of the valve on this. I'd have to look at a take-apart video. But if it's anything like the last couple of guns I've looked at that are, you know, similar but different brands, it's probably got the same type of valve, which case it would probably be a pretty good valve as far as the valve goes for long-term CO2 storage, but not for that seal. Okay, and that seal will compress and stay compressed, and it will actually wear the seal out faster too, having all that pressure against it from the bottle being torqued on it. You know, yeah, that's probably something you want to have that seal last longer. So if you relieve the pressure by taking the bottle out and leaving it out when you're not using the gun, put a new bottle in each time, then you're going to get a lot more longevity out of the seal, especially in this thing, but many other guns like it too as well. Anyhow, so if you're into cowboy stuff, it's cowboy gun, okay? They call this the gun that won the West or something. Really nice. I still want that Legends lever action replica that shoots when you cock it, you know, for the next shot, it'll actually fire the shell at the top of the gun like a real one. It's actually a new one that's been out in the market for a bit now. And we have a Canadian version of it now as well, and the price is actually really good on it. Better than what I expected for Canada, and so I'm actually going to be picking one of those up once I get the money for it, and that'll probably end up, I don't know, it'll probably end up being the last rifle in my collection, and I'll probably get a bunch of extra shells for that sucker, just because I'm going to want them just for some fast-paced shooting and stuff that I'll probably want to get into practicing and whatnot. But you do get 10 shells with it. And it turns out you can load pellets in that one and shoot pellets through, or BBs, even though it's a smoothbore. So, in all, it's a really cool gun. I really like it, at least. Let me know what you guys think of this. You know, it's pretty neat. If you want a size comparison against my Remington, we'll do that before we take off here. Now, the Remington's a bit bigger beast. So, if you're going to go sight to sight, let's even that up. So the Remington does have a much longer barrel, even though it is smoothbore. This is dual ammo gun. Because it's smoothbore, it's BB and pellet, and it comes with BB shells and pellet shells. I'm only running, actually, pellets through this thing, and that's it. I have no use for BBs for this thing. But again, this is a really nice gun as well. Mind you, this one's got a much heavier trigger on it, too. But they are really awesome looking guns, that's for sure. Like, nice. And they work well. That's the other thing. But anyways, that's my video for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you do have any questions, you know, let me know. And, you know, as always, I'll do what I can to answer your questions. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. And if you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and smash the bell for notifications that when I upload new videos. See ya.